And off we go into the universe of Zoom. Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to Saturday Sanga, February 12th, 2022, planet Earth. So today we continue with our usual program. In most respects, usual. In some respects, maybe something a little different. And so we can start with some pranati. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatang Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitangscha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Again, welcome everyone to Saturday Sangha on February 12th, 2022. We will begin with We'll begin with a song from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, but we only have half of the song translated, which is to say what you find in the version that we have online is only half of the song. How do I know that? I know that because we have the book Kalyana Kalpataru, and it shows 4 verses, whereas this, what we have online, shows only 2 verses. Unusual verses, because each verse has 6 lines instead of 2 or 4. And truth be told, I'm rather at a loss how this would be sung. And so what I think I want to do is go through it briefly with the translation, and then we chant Hare Krishna, we sing Hare Krishna a little bit. Yeah. So this song is song number 5 of the section of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Kalyana Kalpataru called Upalabdhi. This is Nirveda-Laksana-Upalabdhi, or Nirveda-Laksana-Upalabdhi. I looked up the word Nirveda and in the Sanskrit dictionary, and it says, here's what it says. First meaning given is not having the Veda. But that's not the way it's understood here. Or an infidel, an unscriptural situation. That's not the sense here. The sense here is more like the second meaning, which is despondency or despair. Can also mean indifference, complete indifference, or disregard of worldly objects. So it could mean something like detachment. And we may wonder, how is that such a difference between despondency, which usually is based very much on attachment, lamentation, and so on, and detachment. But one might understand that first comes the despondency, this feeling unfortunate, sad, because things are not going right. And then, after some time, the result of that could be a sense of detachment from the world. Example of that in the Bhagavatam, in the 11th canto, is, what's her name? Pingala, the prostitute. After being frustrated in her attempts, in her hopes for some, shall we say, business, and none of it materializes, then she has a kind of, we would say, an about face, and she very suddenly becomes completely detached from everything. Another meaning of nirveda is disgust, to be disgusted. So that's similar to, could be similar to detachment, although it has a whole nother sense. Actually, the word disgust in English, it's probably from Latin, has to do with gust, which is about taste. It's about tasting, eating. Me gusto, you say in Espanol. I would like. I like. Um, so disgust in English is the opposite. It's something distasteful, something, if you put it in your mouth, it tastes so horrible you want to spit it out. So that can be one meaning of Nirveda. So Nirveda-Lakshana. Lakshana means characteristics or characteristic, singular. But because it's in compound, it could also be plural. And then Upalabdhi, let's see what our dictionary friend says about Upalabdhi. It says, obtainment or acquisition or gain. But more relevant here, observation, perceiving, becoming aware, understanding. So the understanding or the becoming aware or the observation of the lakshanas, the qualities or the characteristics of disgust or detachment or discouragement. So this is song number 5, and it goes like this. Sarirer, Sukhe, mana, deho-Jalanjali, deho tomar noi, baranca satru soy, siddha-deho-sadhana-samaye, sarvada, ihar, bale, rohiyacho, bali, kintu nahi jano, mono, sarir acetana, pode, roy, jibana-bilaye. Let's see if it's long or short, balaye. Let's see. It is... Oh, it's not balaye, it's bilaye. Bilaye. Pade roy, jibana-bilaye. Yeah, there's a few typos in this online version of these songs. Okay, translation. My dear mind, mana, kindly cease from your endeavors to supply artificial pleasures, quote unquote, to the material body. Deha, of course, means body. Sarir also means body. Sorry, deha means give. So here, Sarirer, of the body, Sukhe, happiness of the body, O mind. Deha, Jalanjali. We need a Bengali expert for this one. I don't know if Gopi is with us or Devashri Radhika. This body does not belong to you for enjoying as you please. Rather, it is the most formidable enemy of one who is trying to practice devotional service in his siddha-deha. Siddha-deha-sadhana-samaye. Samaye means in the time. So in the time of practice, sadhana, of siddha-deha. That's interesting because we usually think sadhana is what you do when you have not yet realized siddha-deha. And this seems to be saying you're in your siddha-deha, you're absorbed in that perfected body, and you are doing that service. And that's called sadhana, which can also just mean activity. But you, my dear mind, always depend on this body and try to squeeze whatever pleasure you can right up to the limits of its physical abilities. Sarvada, ihar, bale, rohiyacho, bali. Sarvada means always. Ihar, I think, would mean of now here. Bale, maybe with energy. Rohiyacho, you keep trying, something like that. But what you're not understanding, dear friend, remember, we're addressing the mind, my dear mind. But what you're not understanding, dear friend, is that this material body is insensitive. He's translating acetana as insensitive and unconscious. I guess he's using both words for acetana, and that it simply drops down on the ground when your life is finished. Pode, it's a dot, D with a dot under it. Pode, roy, jibana-bilaye. Bilaye. Yeah, bilaye. So when the life is finished, vilaya. Laya means destruction, so I guess vilaya means thoroughly destroyed. Okay, let's try the second verse. Ihar. Yeah, see, that's another mistake. I wondered, what is this ihar? It should be deher, so of the body. Deher saundarya-bala. Yeah. Deher saundarya-bala. Nahe chirodin. Ataeva taha loje. Nathako garbita hoje. Shtoma. Now that should be toma. Toma prati e anunoi. Anunoi? Yeah, anunoi. Suddha-jibe siddha-dehe shadai navin jodibutta. Jadibutta. Deho-joga jibane karma-bhoga jiber-patana jadashroy. The handsomeness of this body, saundarya-bala, as well as its strength and abilities, bala, do not last for very long. Nahe chirodin, long days, literally, or a long day, or many days maybe. Therefore, my earnest request, ataeva, is therefore, to you, is that you please accept all these truths and don't become proud. Garvita means proud. Na tako garvita hoje. Don't be proud. And taha, ataeva taha loje. So loye means to accept, to take on, to adopt. Adopting. Natako, takon, to remain, or to abide, can mean something like to, where do you live? Uh, Kotaitakan, where do you live? Toma proti e anunoi. The pure spirit soul in his siddha-deha is eternal and ever fresh. Suddha-jibe, siddha-deha, shodai naveen. Yes, naveen means ever fresh, new. Shadai, so it's sada, sada means always, and sadai means really always. So this is good news. This is something, especially as we are all getting older, some of us older than some others, we feel it more and more in the body. So the good news is that the suddha-jibe siddha-deha is sadai naveen. It is always ever fresh. But such a transcendental soul meets his downfall when he becomes stupefied within the cage of the material body. Jadibut. Let's see, what is this? Oh, yes. Stupefied, jari. So that's, again, the second to last line. That first D would be with a dot under it. Excuse me. So it's retroflex, which, so we know the word jada, as in jada bharata. Jada can mean dull or inert. So jadi bhuta, you could say, is being inert, being dull, being, as he's translated here, stupefied, which is a very nice word to use. Stupefied is a little different from stupid, but similar. Within the cage of this body, deho-joga. Maybe he's translating yoga here as cage, which is nice. Okay, thus his pure spiritual life is choked, jibana-bilaye, karma-bhoga, is choked as he is rendered insensitive due to enjoying the results of temporary fruitive activities. So karma-bhoga is temporary fruitive activities. Jiver partana jada ashroy, having taken shelter of jada, of material existence, something like that. Okay, so rather than trying to sing this, I really struggled with it, trying to see how it would go nicely, because it's in a kind of inverted way from a usual, what we are familiar with from, for example, the Guru Puja song of Narottam Das Thakur. I don't know, I just found it a little awkward. And the second reason is we don't have the second half of the song. I have it here, and I'll just mention briefly, there's one very interesting expression in the last verse of the song, and that is sahaja samadhi. Sahaja samadhi. We usually think sahaja, sahajiya, but the word sahaja, it's just like that, means natural. Sahaja, born with, literally. So sahaja samadhi, natural samadhi. It says sahaja samadhi joge sadha, krame krame jada satto, jada shatta, habe abosar, siddha-deha anugata, koro deho jadashrita, paramartha na hoibe vadha. I could try to work on a translation of that, but I didn't have time. But to this sahaja samadhi, just to note that in this Gaudiya Mata publication, there's a long footnote to this expression. And the footnote is explaining, it's quoting from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura's book that he wrote earlier, I guess, called Sri Krishna Samhita, in which he's explaining what he means by sahaja samadhi. And it involves several, it's a list of many different qualities or, I don't know, practices. That would be something to look into, but I won't do that now. And so, instead, now some of you may have noticed last week that our harmonium was not feeling very happy. It has a couple of notes that just want to play all the time, even when you don't want. So I've made another arrangement, and we hope this will work. This is an electronic device. Yeah, and we've been exploring how to make this work with the electronic system that we have here. And this morning I came across this particular sound. And I was, can you hear the electronic harmonium?
Yes, we can hear Guru Maharaj.
Okay.
Organs.
Yeah, so this particular sound in this so-called garage band program is called simply grand organ. But I happen to know from my childhood exactly which kind of organ this is. It's from a particular company, the Hammond Organ Company. And I know this, why? Because we had a Hammond organ in my household, in my family house. My mother was playing the organ. My father a little bit, but it was my mother who was more accomplished. So I was hearing this since I can remember. And so when I heard this sound, it caused some sort of flashback to ancient times. Anyway, here we go. Let's see if we can do this. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everyone, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Balloon, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna
Krishna,
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Once more, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Haribo, 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 Gaur Haribo, Nitai Gaur Haribo, 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 Gaur Haribo. Yeah. Sometimes the technological universe is not a bad thing. Okay, so today we're observing Ekadashi, and tomorrow is Mahadvadashi, and tomorrow is the appearance of Varahadev, I understand, and the next day is Nityananda Trayodashi, and so I want to say Varahadeva ki jai. Where would we be without Varahadev? The whole planet would be lost. And Varahadev has saved us. And we may pray to Varahadev to continue to save us as our planet spins about in arguably a less and less regular way, in the sense there is apparently quite some strong evidence of climate change, causes of which are complex, but there's, at least from the perspective of pratyaksha and anumana, as far as they go, there's good reason to think that we humans are very much the cause. And so what to do? Call out for help from the Lord, who is the cause of all causes, that he may save us. We might also, in this respect, like to remember the Lord as Kalya, since it was Kalya who was causing so much havoc in terms of pollution, air pollution, that was so bad that the young gopas were literally dropping dead on the bank of the Yamuna because of the smell, the fumes. And so Varahadev is restoring the earth into its proper place. And Kalya is restoring the air that we can breathe, which is also very relevant in this time of pandemic, because the air is so much contaminated by this small entity, so small we can't even see it, which is quite astonishing. But I wanted to spend more time anticipating the appearance of Lord Nityananda. We say anticipating, and of course we know Lord Nityananda appeared before Lord Chaitanya. And eventually he and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met and then had wonderful pastimes together. In some respects, or we may say in important ways, reenacting their identities as none other than Krishna and Balaram. And so I thought it's good for us to anticipate that we read something from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, and well, maybe for this purpose we could share the screen. That would make it easier for our translators. We means maybe you, Dharmagupta, can find online. Adi Lila, chapter 5. Let's see, where do we want to start? Where do we want to start? Well, let's start with verse 132. 132 of chapter 5, Adi Lila. Let's see, is our host with us?
Yes, Guru Maharaj, I will share in half a minute.
Okay. Yeah, so chapter 5 of Adi Lila is mainly an expansion of 2 verses, maybe it's 3 verses from the very beginning of chapter 1. I believe it's elaborating verses number 8, 9, maybe 10. So those were Sanskrit verses which are essentially describing how Lord Nityananda is Balaram, who is expanding as 5 different forms, including Vishnu and Anantashesha. Yes, there we go. Okay. Is it possible to jump to 132? Well, let's start with since you're there, let's start with this very first verse, shall we? If you can move it up slightly. Yeah, okay. Vande Nantadbhutaishvaryam Sri Nityanandamishvaram Yasyechaya Tatsvarupam Agnenapi Nirupyate. And the translation is, let me offer my obeisances to Lord Sri Nityananda, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose opulence is wonderful and unlimited. By his will, even a fool can understand his identity. Now, a lot of these very first verses of the chapters of Chaitanya Charitamrita have this kind of theme. They're offering obeisance to the Lord, and Krishnadas Kaviraj is expressing his humility that even I, he's identifying himself, although it's not explicit here, but many times he's identifying himself as the fool or the person who is somehow disqualified, that he becomes qualified by the grace of the Lord. Another thing we can notice in this verse is the word Aishvarya. As we know, there's Aishvarya and there's Madhurya. And what we will see, or what I'm going to be skipping over most of it, but what the first most of this 5th chapter is focusing on this Aishvarya aspect, that indeed Lord Nityananda, being Balarama, who is the source of the Chaturvyuha expansions, Narayana, and then Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and then again Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and the source of all of the Vishnu forms, Karanadakashayi, Garbhodakashayi, Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, and Anantashesha. All of this is really about his Aishvarya. And so Krishnadas Kaviraj wants to have this, we might want to say, in the background, in our minds, of just who we're talking about, who we are hearing about, that if indeed it's the case that Nityananda is Balaram, just consider how wonderful this is, that he has appeared amongst us in a mood which is not Aishvarya. And now you may say, well then, what is it? Is it Madhurya? Because we don't usually think of Madhurya in relation to Krishna and Krishna with his consorts. More broadly, though, we can consider Madhurya as the mood of Vrindavan, Raja Vrindavan, where all of the devotees in Vrindavan are participating directly or indirectly in the Madhurya mood of the Lord. So in that sense, we may say it's appropriate, although certainly Nityananda Prabhu's general mood is in the Sakya Bhava. Okay, then I want to go to verse 132. I don't know if you can jump to that with this program. That's a way to do it. It's not exactly jumping, but okay. Meanwhile, I will read 132. Says, J rupe jane shetota kohe shakala sambhave krishne kichumitya nahe. In whatever form one knows the Lord, one speaks of him in that way. In this there is no falsity, since everything is possible in Krishna. So Krishnadas Kaviraj has been discussing about all these many different forms, expansions, avatars, something he'll elaborate on later toward the end of Madhya Lila. But for now he's giving a kind of overview. And then he's saying that all of these forms are really forms of Krishna. Why is it possible? Because everything is possible in Krishna. Shakala sambhave Krishna kichu mitya nahe. There is no mitya, there is no falsity. And then he says in the next verse, therefore, excuse me, therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has exhibited to everyone all the pastimes of all the various incarnations. So now he's kind of jumping from Krishna to Lord Chaitanya and saying, because they are identical, so now it's Lord Chaitanya who's exhibiting all these pastimes in various forms. And now, verse 134. Let's see. Yeah, whoops.
Sorry, Guru Maharaj, I will do it like this. And 134 is the verse. Okay.
Not so simple after all. Okay, here we go. E rupe Nityananda ananta prakasha se bhave kahe muyi chaitanya radasa. Thus, Lord Nityananda has unlimited incarnations. In transcendental emotion, he calls himself a servant of Lord Chaitanya. So this is kind of more specifically introducing Nityananda Prabhu in his relationship to the Lord. What is that relationship? Chaitanya Dasa. But then we get some more specifics in the next verse. Kabu Guru, Kabu Shoka, Kabu Britya Lila, Purve Jeno, Tina Bhave, Braje Koila Kela. Sometimes he, that is Nityananda Prabhu, serves Lord Chaitanya as his guru, sometimes as his friend, and sometimes as his servant. Just as Lord Balaram played with Lord Krishna in these three different moods in Braja. Just now occurs to me that serving Lord Chaitanya as guru, we might want to take as example the pastime of the encounter with Jagai and Madai. When Nityananda Prabhu was wounded by Madai, then Chaitanya wanted immediately to dispatch Madai. with his chakra. And what did Nityananda Prabhu do? He said, no, stop, stop, stop. This is not your mission. He reminded Lord Chaitanya. So in a sense, in that moment, he's acting as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's guru, stopping him from doing something inappropriate for his appearance as Lord Chaitanya. So then it goes on with some examples of how Krishna and Balaram play, so describing the Sakya-bhava. Now I think I'll go a little more quickly until I come to something. Let's see. Oh, yes, verse 142, very important. Akkale ishar Krishna arashabhavritya jare jaiche nachai shetaiche kare nritya. Lord Krishna alone is the supreme controller, and all others are his servants. They dance as he makes them do so. Akale Ishvara Krishna, there's one Ishvara, and that is Krishna. Arashabha, all others are Bhritya, they're all servants. And Jare Jaiche, there's Jaiche and Taiche. It's relative correlative. As and as, not shy, as they dance, so, or as he dances, so they dance. So in the spiritual world, every step is a dance. And it's nice when there's a group of dancers and they're dancing in the same way, in the same rhythm. It's very powerful. It's very, it can be very, very attractive. Okay, again, I jumped some. (149) Nityananda Sharup Purveha iya Lakshman Lagu Bhrata Hayya Kare Ramera Sevan. Lord Nityananda Sharup formerly appeared as Lakshmana and served Lord Ramachandra as his younger brother. And then the next verse, just the translation, the activities of Lord Rama were full of suffering. But Lakshman, of his own accord, tolerated that suffering. Dukkha karana. Svatantra-lilaye dukkha. Shahin Lakshman. So Svatantra-lilaye, in his independence, literally, he accepted that. And then he goes on to say, as a younger brother, he could not stop Lord Rama from his resolution, and so he remained silent, although unhappy in his mind. And of course, perhaps most famously, Lakshman is silent when Rama orders Sita Devi to be tested by fire after her return from Lanka. Everyone is shocked because everyone knows that Sita is without blemish. But Rama, in the Valmiki Ramayana, the scene is really quite striking. How cold he is. Rama is, he acts in an extremely cold way at that moment. He says, "You have been with another man, so I cannot take you back." And then he says, all right, she can be tested in this fire. Anyway, that's the whole story, but the point here is that Lakshman is quite outraged at this. But the thing is, he's the younger brother. And so in the proper relationship of younger to older brother, he has to be submissive. And that's what he is. But, and this is the next verse, 152. Krishna avatare jeshta hoila shevar karan Krishna ke koraila nana sukha ashwadan. When Lord Krishna appeared, he, Balaram, became his elder brother to serve him to his heart's content and make him enjoy all sorts of happiness. So now Balaram is in the superior position. That means Krishna has to be obedient to him. But the whole point is that from Balaram's perspective, this is simply increasing his facility to serve. He is serving his younger brother by being an older brother. Okay, now I wanted to jump again to, verse 157 briefly, and then the story begins. This is where Krishnadas Kaviraj tells his own story. We might want to say his How I Became a Hare Krishna story. By having a theophany, a vision of Lord Nityananda. And then this is going to bring us up to the end of the chapter. So first he says in verse 157, Nityananda Mahima Sindhu Ananta Apar Ekakana Sparshimatra Shekripa Tahar. The ocean of Lord Nityananda's glories is infinite and unfathomable. Apara, unfathomed. Only by his mercy can I touch even a drop of it. So that's his introduction, and now he's going to, so to speak, give us a drop of that ocean by telling his own story. Please listen to another glory of his mercy. He made a fallen living entity climb to the highest limit. Urdhva Sima. Sima means limit, Urdhva, the highest. And then, one more verse. Then he says, to disclose it is not proper, for it should be kept as confidential as the Vedas. Ayogya means not proper. Yet I shall speak of it to make his mercy known to all. And we can say this is one of the essential purposes of Krishnadas Kaviraj in writing Chaitanya Charitamrita. He wants to share the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates. He wants to demonstrate how merciful they are. And in that mood, he is writing. Okay, so he's kind of set this preliminary mood in which he's going to tell this story. But then he prays to Nityananda in the next verse. Ulasa upari lekon tomar prasad Nityananda Prabhu mor kanna aparad. O Lord Nityananda, I write of your mercy, out of great exultation. Please forgive me for my offenses. So he's been addressing all of us who are hearing and reading up to this point, but now he's addressing Nityananda Prabhu just for this one verse, and he's begging him for forgiveness. Mora kama kshama aparada. Mora aparada kshama. Please forgive my offenses. Okay, and then he begins the story. And what's the story? The story begins at his home, that in verse 161, he says, Lord Nityananda Prabhu had a servant named Sri Meenaketana Ramdas, who was a reservoir of love. At my house, there was Sankirtan day and night, and therefore he visited there, having been invited. Absorbed in emotional love, he sat in my courtyard, and all the Vaishnavas bowed down at his feet. And then it describes his behavior in the next verse. Namaskar karite karo, upparete chade, preme kare, bamshimare, kahake chapade. In a joyful mood of love of God, he sometimes climbed upon the shoulder of someone offering obeisance, and sometimes he struck others with his flute or mildly slapped them. So we can try to picture this scene. If we were not aware of that he is a great devotee, we might be very concerned. What sort of madness is this? He's climbing on people's shoulders. He's striking them with his flute, slapping them. It sounds like maybe he's a bit mad. But everyone knows he's a very exalted devotee, and he's been invited because they know he's a great devotee. So he's there and he's having a good time, and they're all having a good time with Sankirtan. And Meenaketana Ramdas was deeply absorbed in his devotional mood. The next verse says, Je noyane noyana dakite ashruhoy monajar se netre avichinna vahe ashudar. There were constantly tears flowing, and the people would see this, and they could understand that this is very special, and then they would respond with tears. As a result. So then there's more description of his feelings of ecstasy, his pulaka kadamba and his anga kampa. And sometimes, here we go, verse 167. Nityananda bali jabe korina hunkar, tahadeki lokke hoy mahachamotkar. Whenever he shouted aloud the name Nityananda, the people around him were filled with great wonder and astonishment. Mahachamotkar. Hunkar, this word comes up a few times in relation to Advaitacharya. Advaitacharya calls out loudly for Lord Chaitanya to appear. Hunkar. And I think this is a standard modern Bengali and also Hindi word. So, okay, This is going on, but then now starts the trouble. One respectable Brahmin named Sri Gunarnava Mishra was serving the deity. When Minaketana was seated in the yard, this Brahmin did not offer him respect. Seeing this, Sri Ramdas became angry and spoke. What does he say? Eto ditya sutta Roma harshan baladeva deki je nakoila pratyudgam. Here I find the second Romaharshan Sutta, who did not stand to show honor when he saw Lord Balaram. Now, at this point, you might say, but wait, this is not Nityananda, this is not Balaram, this is Minaketana Ramdas. And he's saying, oh, this is like the second Romaharshana Sutta. Of course, the story is Romaharshan Sutta was reciting the Bhagavatam when Balaram came into the assembly, and Romaharshan Sutta did not rise to respect him, thinking, I am on the seat of Vyasa, I am reciting Bhagavatam, there should be no interruption of this. And therefore, he didn't stand up. But that was a mistake. It was a mistake which cost him his life. Balaram approached him, he took a grass halm, he simply touched him on the head. Romaharshani, Balaram touched him on the head with a grass halm. Romaharshan Sutta dropped dead on the spot. Hare Krishna. So Minaketana Ramdas, he's not Balaram, he's not Nityananda either. He's a servant of Nityananda. But that will be explained that he's representing his guru Nityananda, and as such, he's taking the behavior of this Brahmin, Gunarnava Mishra, in that way that he is not properly respecting his guru. That's how he sees it. Verse 172, at the end of the festival, Minaketana Ramdas went away, offering his blessings to everyone. At that time, he had some controversy with my brother. Now, notice up to now, Krishnadas Kaviraj is apparently in a reasonably wealthy family. And how do we know that? Well, they have a Brahmin doing the archana. That means they're maintaining this Brahmin for that purpose. That means apparently it seems to be a kind of larger house. It has a courtyard. You can still see some houses like this in Calcutta. I've been to, well, I remember one which had it was a private home with a large courtyard and a large temple with 3 altars. And I think this is where Srila Prabhupada had the idea that this is the standard for ISKCON. The higher end standard should have 3 altars and 3 pujaris. He wanted quite some opulence. We can see this in Bengal. I don't know if one can see 3 pujaris anymore. Okay, so now so he's about to leave Minaketana Ram, but before he leaves, he's having an exchange with Krishnadas Kaviraj's brother, who is not named, I don't believe. which is interesting. This Brahmin priest is named, but Krishnadas does not name his brother. In any case, he says, my brother had firm faith in Lord Chaitanya, but only a dim glimmer of faith in Lord Nityananda. Knowing this, Sri Ramdas felt unhappy in his mind. I then rebuked my brother. Dui bhai ekatanu shaman prakasha Nityananda naman tomar habe sarvonasha. These two brothers, I told him, are like one body. They are identical manifestations. If you do not believe in Lord Nityananda, you will fall down. Tomar habe sarvanasha. Everything of you will be destroyed. If you have faith in one but disrespect the other, your logic is like the logic of accepting half a hen. Ardha kukuti nyaya. Ardha kukuti nyaya. The logic of accepting, what is the logic of accepting half a hen? You like that the hen gives eggs. You don't like that you have to feed the hen. So in your foolish logic, you cut off the head of the hen, which of course means the hen is killed. But you didn't think about that. You just cut off the head, thinking I'll just get eggs. So that's called Ardha Kukuti Nyaya. And here, Krishnadas is saying, you, my brother, he doesn't say whether he's older or younger, but he says, you are taking one and not the other. You need to take both Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda. Now, it does say that he had a little faith in Nityananda, but apparently it was not enough. It was Vishvasa Abhasa. It was, a dim reflection of faith. It was something, but not enough. So Ramdas, that is Meena Ketana Ramdas, is still present in this discussion, and he becomes angry. Verse 1, the next one, verse 178 says, thus Sri Ramdas broke his flute in anger and went away. And at that time, my brother fell down. Now, what it means by that, it doesn't say. What does it mean? It says, Bratar hoila sarvanasha. But what happens to him, we don't hear. So then he tells about the appearance of Nityananda to him. And he says, it was that same night. Let's see, does it say? Shevratri, yeah, on that night. So, Bhaike Bartsimu Mui Laya Eguna Shevratri Prabhu More Dila Darashan. That night, Lord Nityananda appeared to me in a dream. Because of my good quality in chastising my brother. He gives credit to himself for having reprimanded his brother to defend Nityananda Prabhu. And he's saying the reward for having done so is that Nityananda Prabhu appeared to him. How many of you would like Lord Nityananda to appear to you? Yeah. Okay, now he locates where apparently they were living. He says in the village of Jamatpur. which is near Naihati, Lord Nityananda appeared to me in a dream. So, and Prabhupada gives a short detail in the purport how to get there if you want to visit by going by railroad. It may be out of date now because he was generally these instructions he was taking from the commentary of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, which was early 20th century. 100 years later, whether it's the same way to get there, might be easier to just take a car. Okay. In any case, Nityananda appeared. Dandavat hoya ami padinu payete or pajete nijapada padma prabhu dila moramate. I fell at his feet, offering my obeisance, and he then placed his own lotus feet upon my head. Arise, get up. Utto bali, more bole bar. Utti tara rupa dekki hainu, chamatkar. Arise, get up, he told me again and again. Upon rising, I was greatly astonished to see his beauty. Now, apparently this is all happening in a dream. So he's dreaming that he's getting up and offering obeisance and getting up. And then he sees the Lord. And then he describes him, Shama Chikkan Kanti Prakanda Sharira Sakshat Kandarpa Jaiche Mahamallavira. He had a glossy blackish complexion, and his tall, strong, heroic stature made him seem like Cupid himself. Mahamallavir. Malla can also mean a wrestler. Mallavana chanir ninam naravarastrinam smara murtiman. In the 10th canto, when Krishna and Balaram enter the wrestling arena, Mallanam, the wrestlers were there waiting for them. Okay, it goes on to describe him more. I kind of jump over some of these. And he was not alone. There were other devotees with him. And they were dressed as cowherd boys, surrounding his feet like so many bees and chanting, Krishna, Krishna. And what were those boys doing? Some of them were playing flutes and others were dancing and singing. So it was a whole scene going on. Okay, here we are now, verse 195, with Nityananda's message to Krishnadas. He says, yes. Are Krishnadas nakaro boy Vrindavane jaha taha sarvalabha hoy. My dear Krishnadas, do not be afraid. Go to Vrindavan, for there you will attain all things. Sarvalabha hoy. And that's all he says. That is in the instruction that Krishnadas Kaviraj gets from his guru. Go to Vrindavan, and there you will obtain all things. And Krishnadas Kaviraj does not hesitate. He says this, and then he waves his hand toward Vrindavan, and then he disappears with his associates. And then, apparently still in his dream, Krishnadas faints, and he falls to the ground, and then his dream breaks. And when I regained consciousness, I saw that morning had come. I thought about what I had seen and heard and concluded that the Lord had ordered me to proceed to Vrindavan at once. That very second, I started for Vrindavan. This is 199. Se kshane Vrindavane korinu gomana. Prabhur kripate sukhe ainu Vrindavana. That very second, ekshane, at that moment, I started for Vrindavan, and by his mercy, I reached there in great happiness. And then he glorifies Nityananda. Jaya Jaya Nityananda, Nityananda Ram, Tahara Kripate Painu Vrindavana Dham. And then he says, by his mercy, by Nityananda Prabhu's mercy, I received the shelter of Srila Sanatana Goswami and Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami and Sri Sarup Damodar, he mentions also. And then he glorifies Sanatana Goswami, and he says, by the mercy of Nityananda, I attained Radha Govinda, the deities. And then he goes on about how he is more sinful than Jagai and Madai, in order to, again, highlight Nityananda's glory. Verse 207 says, Amone nigrihna more keba kripa kore akonitananda vinu jagat bitare. Who in this world but Nityananda could show his mercy to such an abominable person as me? And what is that qualification of Nityananda? He does not distinguish between the good and the bad, the uttama and the adama. Je age padai tare koraye nistar ata eva nistarila mohana durachar. He delivers all those who fall down before him. Therefore, he has delivered such a sinful and fallen person as me. And he goes on in this way, how he's received the mercy of Rupa Goswami, Radha Govinda, Radha Madan Gopal, also known as Radha Madan Mohan, and then he glorifies the deities of Vrindavan. And then he quotes a famous verse from Srila Rupa Goswami. One should not go to Keshigat if one wants to keep one's attachment to one's family. And then he concludes with the point, I'm jumping now to the almost very end, verse 231. Taha sarvalabhya hoy prabhur bachan se shutra etar koila vivaran. Lord Nityananda said, in Vrindavan, all things are possible. Here I have explained his brief statement in detail. She shab painu ami Vrindavane ai, she shab labda e prabhur kripai. I have attained all this by coming to Vrindavan, and this was made possible by the mercy of Lord Nityananda. And then he has 3 more verses, sort of closing off glorification of Nityananda and Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, by whose mercy, he says, I am narrating the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, and I think it's interesting that he is highlighting this point that Nityananda Prabhu appeared to him personally. He gave him one instruction: go to Vrindavan, and there you will attain all desirable things. And Krishnadas is saying, and it was true. I followed his instruction. I immediately went. I didn't hesitate. And I got to Vrindavan, and I've been spending the rest of my life in Vrindavan. Apparently, he was quite young when he left home. And he remained in Vrindavan for the rest of his life, into his 90s, apparently. He was quite elderly at the end of his life. And he's saying, and it's true, what Nityananda Prabhu said is true. He said, I will get all things, I will attain all things in Vrindavan, and it's true. And here's how it's true. So it's nice, we get this very personal testimony from Krishnadas Kaviraj. And of course, he's also, this is still early in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, so he's also, by this description, he's also giving us an account of how it is that he, Krishnadas, is qualified, how he's been empowered. Later, he'll explain how he's empowered by the Goswamis in Vrindavan. But prior to this, the empowerment is coming from Nityananda so that he can write the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So we can all be grateful to Nityananda Rama for making it possible to come into the association of Lord Chaitanya and all his associates through Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Hare Krishna. So let's see, I think, yes, Nityananda Rama ki jai. Now, I think we want to have some time for discussion, for sharing, for show and tell. I think there's at least one show and tell. Param Dhammananda, are you here? A little earlier today, he said he wanted to show us something, but maybe next time. All right, that's also okay. Oh, Hare Krishna, Ratnavali. I just now see you. And nice to see all of you here. Hare
Krishna.
Hari Hari. Anyone else have something you want to share about anything or any comments about what we've read from about Nityananda Prabhu, or what you've read. I was suggesting last week that we read this chapter, Adi Lila chapter 5. Did anyone manage to do that? Other than Dira Lalita?
Guru Maharaj Chitra Karuni Mataji has a question.
Oh, okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Please accept, Hare Krishna, please accept my respectful obeisances. Jai Shri
Jai.
Bhagwan. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Yes, my question is, we always read about Lord Nityananda, Radharani, and they are the incarnations and plenary expansions of the Lord. And so basically it's always like there's one soul, but the body is, or it's not actually material body. There is one soul, but different entities in the form of Lord Nityananda or Radharani. So, of course, for me, it's not possible to understand this, but I'm trying. If there is one soul, one consciousness, and then Krishna creates other entities from himself, how come the other consciousness is not aware of the other consciousness and they are acting like two different entities? So that was my question.
Let's see. I'm not sure I quite catch what you're saying. Let's start out with the sort of tattva side of things. So we have Vishnu tattva, right?
Yes.
And that's, of course, Krishna is the origin of all Vishnu tattva forms. And then we have Shakti tattva. And this applies particularly, you mentioned Srimati Radharani, she would be Shakti tattva. And then we have Jiva tattva, that's all of us. And the eternal associates of the Lord who are within the Antaranga Shakti, the Swarupa Shakti of the Lord. They are one and different from the Lord. And I think this is what it's going to come down to. We have this inconceivability, the inconceivability principle, isn't it? That something is one and at the same time different from something.
Yes, yes. This I can.
And Krishna's Leela goes on in Vrindavan with all of his associates, his energies, who are in some sense non-different from him, but in an important sense, they're different, because if they weren't different, there would be no Leela, there would be no rasa, there would be no bhakti. And in that difference, there is a certain limitation. So I know, Prabhupada gives the example in this world, I'm aware of everything in my body, you're aware of everything in your body. Paramatma is aware of everything in everyone's body. And that's the difference between us and Krishna. Now, is your question about the eternal associates in relation to Krishna and how much they know?
No, I didn't even think about the eternal associates. That's another subject. I was just trying to solve, I mean, how, for example, in a very simple example, we know that Radha and Krishna are one soul but two different bodies. So how come they have different consciousness?
Oh, they have to have different. Otherwise, there would be no rasa.
Yeah, so I'm confused is because I'm a jiva. I'm not
Yeah.
capable of understanding anything. So I just try to empathize with myself. I'm thinking I have one soul, one consciousness. How can the soul is not dividing? So it's the same soul, but then have different same soul, two bodies, two different consciousness. This is what I can't understand. Same soul, but two different body and transcendental bodies and consciousness.
Well, I think the problem is using the idea of soul
Okay.
in quite the same way that we understand ourselves. Yeah, there's something else going on because it's Krishna and it's Krishna's energy. But when we think of energy, whenever we use the word energy in normal language, we think of something impersonal, like electrical energy, light energy, whatever, water, wind energy. It's kind of an impersonal thing. But with Krishna, because Krishna is person, the original person, his energies are also person. And therefore, Radharani is fully person, expanding from Krishna, but eternally separate at the same time. But separate in a very special way, in such a way that she can exchange pastime with Krishna, which is one of alternating sambhoga and vipralambha, meeting and separation. And, as you said, we are jiva. How can we understand that? Because we don't have energies quite the same way. I mean, I don't know if we could even make an analogy. Like you have your son, Andres. He's very distinct from you. In some sense, he's your energy, but he's very distinct, isn't it?
Yes.
And sometimes he very much has his own mind, what he wants to do.
Yeah.
So that's also there with Krishna and his eternal associates. And at the same time, it's different.
Yes. So the here, yes, thank you. That was very helpful because I was always thinking, how can a soul can be divided? But this is a wrong way. It was a wrong way of thinking. I should be thinking the energy and the energetic, and the energy is the Krishna, and his energy are also personal.
Yeah. Souls don't divide.
Yes. Yeah. Souls don't divide.
Souls don't divide. We are purna. We are complete. As Krishna is complete, so all souls are also complete, indivisible, unreducible. You can't cut up a soul. Even it may look like it sometimes. You can take a worm and you can cut the worm in half and then you'll have two worms. How is it possible? It is something wonderful. Okay. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Dear Lalita.
Yes, good Maharaj. Thank you very much for your merciful reading of Chaitanya Charitamrita. That was a pure nectar. Well, while you were reading it very much, I was just thinking, it appeared to me, is there a particular reason that in the spiritual world, there is Krishna, he exists first and always and forever. And then from him, the expansions happen. But when he performs his pastimes, first everything else appears. His associates, his paraphernalia, his, let's say, his Vrindavan pastimes. First, a Govardhan appeared, and all the following the paraphernalia appeared, and then he appears. But in the spiritual world, is first he exists, and then everything else comes from him. But in his pastimes on the earth, or in, I'm not sure about the other places in the universe, but first everything else appears, and then he appears.
Well, yeah. You know, it's all eternal. It's eternal here also, but it's sometimes told in such a way, because when you tell it, it's narrative. It's telling a story. First this happened, then that happened, then the next thing happened, as a way of communicating. But it's at the same time, it's understood. It's always all there. Krishna is always. He's always in his abode, which he manifests, but there's no point in time, you can say, before he manifests. Even though in the Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, verse 33, is it 33? Aham evasam evagre nanyat yat sarasat param paschadaham yat etacha yovishisheta sosmyaham. It sounds like Krishna saying, first there was aham, myself alone, and there was nothing else. Na anyat yat sat asat param. I, being param, superior to both sat and asat, both existence and non-existence. I was always there. So that's explaining things, you can say, philosophically or theologically. But in terms of rasa, Krishna's never alone. Not possible.
Otherwise, there won't be rasa. If he would be
There's no rasa, yeah. And Krishna is Akila Rasamrita Murti. He is the very Murti of the nectar of rasa. So rasa, so relation. So there must be some sense of otherness. Otherwise, no rasa.
But also primarily, the rasas all reside in Krishna. If there is nothing before him.
Yeah, you could say like that.
And it's his mercy to give us this rasas.
Yeah.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
That's what I can say for now. Oh, Sita says she has a show and tell. Sita, are you there?
Yes.
Okay.
Am I here or am I not here? Hare Krishna.
I think you're here.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So I have a story from yesterday, which I really would like to share, because it's also connected to the power of prasadam and to Lord Nityananda's mercy. And so yesterday we went to, we are presently at Gran Canaria, and we went to Las Palmas, to the old part of the city. And we sat down to drink something, and there was a man coming, and he was a beggar, no teeth, very dirty and very, very poor. And so he approached us for some money. And I understand about this principle of charity in the mode of ignorance and goodness and all that, but I still think that if I give a little bit of money, then it's easier for the person also to accept the prasadam I want to give. So I gave him a little bit of money, and then I was looking for a banana, which we had, and then I took the banana and I thought, no, wait, is this banana bhoga or prasadam? I couldn't, and then, no, I don't think we offered this banana this morning. And then I thought, Krishna, please, 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 quickly, quickly, look at this banana so that he will get prasadam. And then just then Radhila said, oh, I just offered it in my mind. And I said, okay, okay. And then so I gave this banana to this man, and also a bottle of water. And in the same moment that when Raja said, I just offered it, he turned around and he looked at us, he looked at the banana, and he threw himself on the floor, on the ground, to say thank you for a little banana. And he started to throw himself on the floor, and we had to, of course, then also throw ourselves on the floor. So we were like going up and down, and he wouldn't stop, so we wouldn't stop. And then finally I said, I had such back pain. I said, por favor, no more, please, please. and he wouldn't stop. And it was just such a wonderful connection, because he was a soul and he was just feeling Krishna. And then he got up and then he raised his arms and he just thanked God for this banana.
Nice.
Yeah. So So this was just so wonderful, and I just wanted to share that.
You were spreading Nityananda's mercy in the form of a banana.
Yeah. It's really the power of prasadam, and it's so clear to perceive directly what happens when a soul looks or touches or eats prasadam. What happens? It's just unbelievable, really. Even if it's just a little banana.
Yeah. This may be the beginning of the end of that person's conditioned life.
Yes, and ours as well. Yeah, because when we share, we also receive. So, okay, well, so.
Thank you.
Hi, boy.
Hare Krishna. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, let's see what else. We have our mystery, our Bhakti Sanga. I know who this is. This is Avaduta, right? Avadutas, don't they make a disturbance in society? Question by Avaduta, right? The king of Avadutas. The sense I get from reading like Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavata, and so on, is that in that society, there was some degree of acceptance of recognition that there are some people who just don't fit into any of the categories. And in general, I think we can say that's still today the case in India. You'll see, sadhus. I mean, I still remember one time I was in Puri and I was leaving Puri. I was in a bus and we were just leaving. We were on the main, that grand road, and the bus was just starting up. I guess I was going to Bhubaneswar. And I remember seeing there was one lady, not an old lady, kind of middle-aged lady, just walking down the street, completely naked. And I thought, only in India. Because if that lady had been, anywhere in Europe, she would have been arrested very, very quickly. But this lady was taken as, some kind of mad woman, perhaps, but, sadhu, mixed sadhvi, whatever. And the mood was kind of like, whatever. Kind of accepting. I thought that's actually something to be said for even modern India, that all kinds of people can just be the way they are. But again, we see that in Chaitanya Bhagavad, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nityananda Prabhu, sitting on the lap of Shiva's Thakura's wife, sucking her breast. He's a grown man and he's doing that. Whoa, what is this? So it's a disturbance in society when people want to be disturbed, I guess is one way to put it. If there's no if there's no kind of space in society for marginal people, then that's one of that can be a problem, actually, when society becomes so narrow-minded that everyone has to kind of fit in certain ways. So that's what comes to my mind on that point. And then and Mahananda Ladini is asking, is it possible for us jivas to love both persons, Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, same, or our heart, spelled as in hearth, as in where we have a fire in the living room, heart can only love one? Well, Krishnadas Kaviraj seems to be saying that not only can we, but we should have place in our heart for both Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda. Otherwise, what was the example he gave? Ardha kukur nyaya, the logic of half a hen. He's saying they should receive equal respect, and that means having both of them in the heart. And that's why I have to say Srila Prabhupada established in most of his temples, he established Shishi Gaur Nitai there together. And Bhaktin Ipek is saying, you have another question. When there is one soul and two bodies and two consciousness, is the same soul in with the two different bodies? Or is the soul already everywhere? Yeah, Sarvagatam. It's actually said that the soul in the spiritual world can take on any sort of body. I read that recently. There seems to be a lot of flexibility for the pure soul. But that's as much as I can say how that works. we can only wonder. And Vrindapati is asking, if we can only get Radha Krishna through Nityananda, then why or how does it fit with Radha Krishna's rasa? Seems to be apparently contradictory in rasas. Yeah, that's interesting. Here, I would just take it that Nityananda is the Adi Guru, specifically with respect to all things related to this world. And we understand that Radharani is the Adi Guru with all things related with direct Krishna Lila. And so if we want to come to the point where we are guided in Krishna Lila, step one is we need to have the guidance, direction of Nityananda. Why? Because Nityananda is Balaram. Balaram is the source of all the forms of the Lord who expand, who create. So here we are in this world right now. So it's kind of from that perspective that where we are now, the starting point is we need to approach Nityananda Prabhu. And very quickly, Bhakta Salim, how to please Nityananda Prabhu on his appearance day? Well, we can sing. There's this song from Chaitanya, from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Gora Nityananda Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Gaur Shri Advaita Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Gaur Shri Gadadhar Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Gaur Srinivasa Bol, Hari Bol. Gaur Bhaktivinoda Bol. That's from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I remember years ago that was sort of banned. Devotees didn't know that Bhaktivinoda Thakur had composed that song, so they thought it was speculation. But it's Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So you could sing that song, you could sing, there are several songs we have from Bhaktivinoda Thakur glorifying Nityananda. Of course, any activity of our mission, distributing Srila Prabhupada's books, you can, especially on Nityananda Trayodashi, if you're going out that day, you can remember and pray to Nityananda that he bless you, and that will certainly be pleasing. Yeah. Yes, you can also, yes, Analia is reminding us there's this nice song, Koda Nitai, Koda Nitai. The word Koda is I've heard that it's an Arabic word, which means Lord. So Lord Nitai. Yeah. So there you go. Koda Nitai. That's a very nice song. I'm going to be giving a talk for, what is it? Ljubljana tomorrow, I think. And we'll talk some more about Nityananda Prabhu. Oh, no. Yes, no. Tomorrow is Warsaw. And the next day is Ljubljana. Yeah. Oh, one little bit of news from myself is that we just got the message yesterday that I have an appointment for receiving my residency card. for Poland, it's about 2 weeks from now. But finally, it seems the mystery is over. That I can finish this chapter and start to make plans for travel. And we'll see. I have to see what are the different options. But I think initially, in any case, some travel here in Europe. And one place at a time. I don't have too much power to expand. So I'm still on the platform of one place at a time. Anyway, probably going to Germany next and then probably go south from there. But there are many factors to consider. So we'll see. And eventually there's India and there's Hong Kong. I don't know about China. China is getting very difficult nowadays. They're making everything a little special. And there's the US and there's South America. Anyway, meanwhile, we have our Zoom connections. Okay, thank you all very much. I wish you all a wonderful week. Keep well, keep swell. Keep sane and chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Okay. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
So wonderful to see you right after this. Jai Nitai, Jai Nitai.
Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Jai, 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 Jai. Jai Shri Vadahadev, Vadashi, Nityananda, Trayodashi, all glorious assembled devotees, everything best in this and progress in spiritual life. Hare Krishna.